All right, happy Monday. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin some breaking news. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez is resigning from the administration. The White House Communications Director Stephen Chung hailing the outgoing secretary for helping Americans gain the skills to improve their lives. Plus, the Trump administration has rolled out a system to repay importers $166 billion in tariff refunds after the Supreme Court struck down the president's tariffs back in February. Now, companies can begin submitting documentation to the government beginning today to recover what they paid in tariffs. This is going to be really interesting. And the House Ethics Committee today issuing a statement on sexual misconduct, saying it's dedicated to holding House members responsible for violations and releasing a historical chart of the public matters, the things that we already knew about but were also investigated by the committee. Still waiting on the list of congressmen who used our tax dollars to settle harassment claims. We got more on this later in the show. But first, the problem with Democrats is they run on one thing and then they do another. The problem with Republicans is they run on something and do nothing. Let's do this. Let this be a lesson for November, folks. We have talked about gerrymandering before, where Democrats redraw congressional districts in like super weird shapes to accommodate a better congressional map for themselves. Look here, if 45% of your state voted Republican, would you think that it's fair and equitable for 90% of the state to be represented by Democrats? I mean, this is a serious question. Democrats seem to think, yeah, that's totally fair.
All we're trying to do is meet them and try to make the system as fair as it possibly can be. And that's all that this is about.
Right. You know what? Let me show you something. Virginia has a vote tomorrow to decide, it's on their ballot, if they will change the congressional districts to make it whatever Democrats want. Look at this. What even is that? The scorpion? Like, there's zero justification for that shape. Other than we're Democrats and we're just going to do whatever we want to be in power. This is how the state voted in the 2025 gubernatorial election. Basically, 90% geographically red. Yet, this is what the new congressional map would look like. Basically, 90% geographically blue. Democrats are almost exclusively elected out of cities. Richmond, Virginia Beach, places like that. In fact, rural districts nationwide went 62 to 36 for Trump over Kamala Harris. And Trump won 2,559 counties with only 421 counties voting for Kamala Harris. And it was still a 51-49 popular election. Look, I live in New England where 100% of our congressmen are Democrats. Yet 48% of New Hampshire voted for Republican, 32% of Vermont voted Republican, 42% of Rhode Island, Republican, 36% of Massachusetts, they got their own problems up there, 42% of my state of Connecticut, and 45% of Maine voted for Republicans, and yet we have zero representation. I think there's a thing in the Constitution. Oh, yeah, no taxation without representation. Got it, yeah. This is what Democrats want nationwide. Don't be fooled, folks. But Obama says, oh, don't worry, this is just temporary.
By voting yes, you can push back against the Republicans trying to give themselves an unfair advantage in the midterms. By voting yes, you can take a temporary step to level the playing field.
I mean, what does he have to do with this anyway? Doesn't he live in, like, Hawaii? Aren't he and Michelle busy, like, playing around with movie producers and stuff like that? Anyway, when has a government ever, and I'd put this to you, when has a government program ever been temporary? Never. As Reagan noted, once a government takes or does anything, when do they ever give power back? The answer is, give or take, approximately never. If these districts pass, you will never reverse them because a Republican will never get back in charge, and then it'll always be for Democrats. Our founding fathers built the electoral system, specifically the congressional representation, to ensure that all the people had their values and were adequately and locally represented by Congress. Overall representation is the 2 senators. Okay, every state has 2, but Congress represents individual people. That's why they run every 2 years too. But they're divided up to be in specific locales. But this is the problem. People like Maggie Goodlander, New Hampshire 2, which is this district right here, okay? She lived in Portsmouth, okay, which is in New Hampshire 1. Okay, then she got an apartment over in that side, and then eventually, after being called out enough to the point where she might have actually lost her seat, she then moved over into her actual district in Concord. Some of these people don't even live in their districts. Maxine Waters, perfect example. This guy, he ran on moving to his district and then refused to once he got elected. Case in point, folks, 213 Democrats in the House versus 217 Republicans. Basically a 50-50 thing. This is the map. It looks like one of these Verizon Can You Hear Me Now maps. Okay? It's all red. And yet it's a 50-50 proposition for representation in Washington. And Democrats want to have more of that. They want to have more blue in all this without moving a single person anywhere, which won't have the values of the new areas that they expand to. Case in point, again, the bulk of climate policies are coming from people who live in like 60-story buildings in cities that can't even keep a freaking plant alive on their windowsill. Yet they're telling people like me, who actually take care of the environment, who maybe grow our food, who hunt and fish and actually care for physical land, they tell us in the red areas what our priorities should be for the environment. You could see why our founding fathers intended to have like representatives of, by, and for the people in the area that they represent. Like not extending those districts into some lobster-looking thing like this. Or like in Illinois, where one district is literally like a river. That's not of, by, and for the people. That's of, by, and for Democrats to maintain control, to ram policies down on red rural areas that people in Democrat, like super high welfare beneficiaries, are bought and paid for by our tax dollars. Paid for by the, 100 or so new Virginia taxes you see scrolling right there, proposed or implemented in the last 6 months after they literally ran on affordability. Look at all these things. Tobacco products tax, another one. Apple excise tax. Cattle assessment, egg tax, forest product. What are these? What? It's all a tax. And they say they're for, changing these districts so it's fair. Democrats won in the state of Virginia in the last election. How are elections not fair? This is a power grab to offset what they think is coming, that the Supreme Court seems poised, who knows at this point, though, we're reading tea leaves, to overturn race-based districting that will likely flip 19 Democrat seats to Republican in places like Georgia. That's all this is, to make sure that they have majority so Republicans will never win another election ever. And this happens because Republicans don't do what they said they were going to do. Glenn Youngkin, who was term limited, but a Republican might have replaced him. He ran and won basically on school choice. People were tired of their kids getting transed and weird stuff and all the stuff being taught to them in schools that they didn't like without their parents' knowledge. He ran largely on a single issue campaign of school choice and charter schools. Democrats will do absolutely nothing and then tell the same idiots that voted for them that, oh, you got to reelect me and I need more time. And they'll just keep doing that over and over again. But Republicans, you have to do, and this is a message for anybody in any elected office as a Republican, you have to do what you said you were going to do on the campaign trail, or people just won't show up for you or the party in the next election. That's Virginia voters, like non-regular voters, moms with their kids being indoctrinated. They came out in droves for Youngkin because he promised to eliminate things like the grocery tax and suspend gas tax and increases and, more rebates on a bunch of different things and double the standard deduction and mostly school choice. And in 4 years, he made no significant progress on those key issues. The single issue, school choice.
We're going to introduce choice within our public school system.
And it didn't happen. And it doesn't matter why it didn't happen. Just that it didn't happen. So the people that didn't get what they voted for, Republicans, didn't come out and vote again, and now you're stuck with Spamberger and your 100 new taxes. This is not hard to understand. That's why I always say the most important election is the next one, and the next one after that, and then the next one after that, and so on and so forth. This isn't like on us for not showing up, by the way. This is on our elected officials. You got to earn my vote sometimes. They're clearly not doing enough to make Republicans want to vote for them. And as a result, a lot of them may be out of a job. So tomorrow, Vote smart, Virginia, because Democrats are tanking your state faster than New York. Chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, Jeff Ryer. All right, Jeff, I mean, look, I think the candidates play a large role in the fact that you guys didn't win re-election in that state.
What you said at the outset, that we have to earn your vote, that's really the key in every election. And I think a lot of times political parties especially get complacent and believe that people are going to support them just because they're part of the party. That's not enough. We have to be able to demonstrate every single time that we are offering something and are going to deliver on something that is going to improve people's lives. And if we can't do that, then the results speak for themselves. Yeah. And that is a disappointment of the last election. We didn't earn votes. Regrettably, we kind of earned a defeat.
Yeah, but do you think people are really internalizing this stuff, being like, wow, I skipped because I had my kid's baseball game and I didn't vote, and now I've got 100 new taxes? Do you think Republicans, even the moderate ones, the unlikely voting Republicans, do you think they're really internalizing that, be like, we screwed up?
Well, I think generally, if we were looking at Abigail Spanberger's poll numbers, it's definitely had an effect. She's starting out now with the lowest poll numbers for a first-year Republican governor since they started tracking first-year Virginia governors, excuse me. Since they started tracking Virginia governors in their first year, she's at the lowest ebb, and I think there's quite a bit of buyer's remorse, even from people who showed up to vote for her, primarily because she ran on one thing and has governed an entirely different way. Yeah. Her very first ad of the last campaign stressed just how bipartisan she was. Yeah, and right. The very first piece of legislation she signs is one to disenfranchise Republican voters across the state.
Well, that's the thing. She ran on being a moderate candidate, bipartisan, to highlighting affordability as literally her top issue was affordability. Yet Virginians, they're taxed on every aspect now. 100 new taxes. Here's the scrolling list. It takes like 40 seconds to scroll through all these new taxes just in 6 months.
Yeah. She's increased they've increased the payroll tax to pay for their family leave program. They have proposed a variety of taxes, and for this legislative session, they're just warming up. Mm-hmm. It is the full litany of the California, Illinois, New York Democratic plan, and I think we all know where that leads.
Yeah. Well, but here's the other thing, too, is this is why this applies to literally everybody, because Democrats will do this in any state they get a footing in. And then just to show you how radical they are, here's a Democrat candidate in Georgia calling for anybody who supported Donald Trump to be banned from the internet. Roll this.
The punishment for MAGA for voting Trump 3 times needs to be that they lose their internet access for 4 years.
That sounds super First Amendment-y. I mean, that's what the same people in your state that you're dealing with.
Well, that is. And frankly, they're doing the same thing with this redistricting scheme. They're silencing the voices of people who don't agree with them. Right now, we have balanced districts that are actually representative of the state. It's 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans. The state voted for Kamala Harris by about 5 points. Democrats have 55% of the seats. We have 45%. They're going to change that to 91-9. They want us silenced. And she's just saying the quiet part out loud. There's an awful lot of Democrats, and especially Democrat activists, that want to make sure that the voices of Republicans and the opinions of Republicans and conservatives are not heard.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, last I got about 15 seconds for you, sir. Spanberger signed a bill that will send the popular vote, not the electoral system like normal, to the candidate that they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a surprise. It's just another way to make sure that Virginia's votes and Virginians' votes don't count, which is what this redistricting scheme does. We need everybody, every conservative, every Republican, every sensible person that cares about way districts ought to be done to come out tomorrow between 6 and 7 and vote.
Yeah. No more lobster-shaped districts. Jeff, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right,
very much.
Coming up, $1 million mistake. Remember, actually, multi-million dollar. Remember when Ilhan Omar and her husband disclosed their between $6 and $30 million worth of assets, their winery and consulting firm? Well, Now she's saying, oh, there was an accounting discrepancy. I'm actually poor, so the Democrat Party should still support me or whatever. But first, you might have forgotten about DHS still being shut down for over 2 months now, but what's being done about it? DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin joining us live next.
The 47th President of the United States of America.
And, you know, I wouldn't say Fox has been exactly perfect. Fox has been a big difference of Fox between now and what it was 4 years ago, as you know. But we have others that come along and they're doing well, and Newsmax has been really good, and, you know, others are coming along, and people are seeing that they're watching these conservative networks.
President Trump is right. That's why millions of Americans are tuning into Newsmax for the real news they can trust.
The human brain is truly incredible. It's a complex network of 100 billion neurons that create cognitive functions surpassing that of supercomputers. Our brain controls our thoughts, our emotions, and our movements. Prevagen contains apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish, and is designed specifically for the brain to help keep it amazing, so that we can continue to live our best life. Prevagen, for your brain.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
These days, supporting the right causes matters more than ever. That's why I chose Patriot Mobile. They're not just a great mobile service provider, they're all about giving back. Every bill helps support causes we believe in: family, faith, and freedom. You get great nationwide coverage on all three main networks. Even better, you're doing it with an American company that stands up for us. It's time to make the switch, y'all. Let's support a wireless company that's got our back. Go to patriotmobile.com and make the switch today.
Now, in case you forgot, DHS is still shut down. We're past 2-month mark now on day 65. And what's being done about it in our Congress and Senate? Well, the Senate is reportedly taking its first steps on Reconciliation 2.0 that we knew would take 2 to 3 months to do if Democrats didn't sign on and agree to fund this thing. The Hill reporting the Senate is expected to vote as early as this week on a budget blueprint for a second reconciliation bill that includes funding for, obviously, ICE and Border Patrol. And it went on. The reconciliation bill is part of a 2-step process aimed at ending the record-breaking DHS shutdown. The Senate has already passed the bipartisan bill to fund the rest of DHS over recess, which the House has yet to take up. So when are we actually going to see our borders being funded? Interesting. Secretary of Homeland Security and former senator, so he knows this game, Markwayne Mullin. Sir, honored to have you on in your new role. First off, you liking it?
I love it. I love it. I'm telling you, I wake up every morning. I mean, think about this, Carl. You would love this too. We get to get up every single morning and protect the homeland. I mean, that's like a dream job. And I guarantee you, with your background, you would enjoy this too. But it's frustrating, right? Because I've got a building full of people and people scattered all over the United States and our territories trying to protect the homeland. And you got the Democrats that's got to shut down. Why? Because they want open borders and they don't want to enforce immigration laws. You can't make sense out of crazy.
No, it really is insane to me. But the other thing is you have a huge section of your staff going on 65 days with no paycheck.
Right. Right. Well, because they didn't have a paycheck until President Trump signed the executive order to take money out of the one big beautiful bill and pay people. But that was temporary. All we did was catch them up on their current paychecks. Mm-hmm. We can't continue to do that. My payroll here at DHS is roughly 1.7 billion every 2 weeks. It's amazing. It's 270,000 people, but we're protecting the homeland and have 22 agencies that are scattered, like I said, all over the country, really all over the world, including TSA, which you're showing right now. It's a huge responsibility we have. And the Democrats are playing political theater with this because they're scared of their base. You can't explain to me why you don't want to fund Department of Homeland Security. That's like saying I'm going to defund the Department of War. The Department of War comes up to our shores. The Department of Homeland protects everything in our backyard, and yet they're saying they're not wanting to do it because they literally, the 2 agencies out of 22 agencies they want to shut down is ICE, which is deporting felons every single day that are killing innocent people on our streets because they should have never been let in here underneath the Biden administration, and our Custom and Border Patrol. I mean, you think about this. You sit there and you go, so you want open borders and you don't want to deport anybody, but yet you're willing to defund the rest of the 20 agencies that are tasked with taking care of us every single day. And most people don't even know who these agencies are.
Well, that's the other thing, too. You brought that up. Look, Tom Homan was given literally an award for deporting people under Obama. And now he goes and deports people under Trump, and they shut down the Senate, the Democrats in the Senate, shut down your agency over him doing the exact same thing he was given an award for under a Democrat.
Right. Yeah, like I said, when you start trying to make them make sense of it, it really goes down to they're scared of their primary, and their base, this radical left base that elects these mayors in New York City, and had Eric Swalwell leading the Democrat Party for governorship in California. These are the same individuals that they want to defund police, and they haven't changed their tactics. They're still the same tactics. They're just using it in different terms, and they keep getting more and more radical. And they're openly embracing socialism now. They're openly embracing this fact that they don't want to have law and order in our streets. You can't argue with that. I mean, look at Portland, look at New York, look at L.A. and tell me how well those cities are being ran right now.
Well, let's talk about that. South Carolina last week, 2 boys, a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, were riding their bikes when a criminal illegal alien killed them while drunk and driving. I mean, it's just, we see this how many times? This is your department tweeting this out. This is a guy, shouldn't have been here anyway, totally illegal, and drunk driving.
And he swerved. These 2 boys are riding their streets in a small town like we did. We grew up doing the same thing.
Yep.
And he swerved. It wasn't like they were on the road. He literally swerved off the road and hit the 2 individuals, and those 2 boys died in the hospital. And this should have never taken place. And how many of these tragic events have to take place before the Democrats will wake up and say, yes, we do want to enforce the laws? And what all CPB and ICE is doing is trying to enforce the laws that Congress passed. I mean, if Congress wants to change something, then change the laws that you task them to do. Don't defund them. Defunding them is a chicken way to do it, because you don't want to take a hard stand, because you don't want to sit there and say that, well, we really want to change the policies, but we need to rewrite them. But truth is, you really don't want to rewrite them because you want to actually have your family living up the laws that you passed, but you don't want to stand up for the policies you passed for your radical left because you want to get reelected in your primary. It's just like, hey, come on, you elect leaders to be leaders, and they have to stand up and explain why they're not doing something or why they are doing something.
And they had total control for 2 years under Biden. Didn't do a darn thing. So
not one thing. They didn't do one thing on immigration except left the borders open and allow Venezuela and South America to empty their insane asylums and their prisons into the United States.
Yeah, it checks out. And that worked out so swimmingly for us. Well, Secretary Markwayne Mullin, pleasure to have you on, sir. Doing a great job so far.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Coming up, a lesson in FAFO. U.S. forces shows Iran, don't go through the strait when we have it closed down. Our SEAL panel next.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
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 Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
You want your landscaping to look great, but with those old gutters, all it takes is one thunder shower to wash it all away. That's why you need LeafGuard, the only one-piece seamless rainwater management system with a clog-free guarantee. Remember, LeafGuard comes with a lifetime transferable warranty, and now would be a great time to call during our double savings sale. We're going to double your savings from 10 to 20% off a complete LeafGuard system. Double the financing to 18 months, 0 interest. LeafGuard in most cases can be installed in less than a day. Call now and we'll double your free gift to a $100 gift card with your free in-home estimate. You might want to call now. This offer ends the 30th, and the first 50 homeowners who call will receive a vacation voucher with the purchase of Leaf Guard. Call 800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
I don't have to worry about it getting the water overflowing and causing more problems.
Because we have an outdoor garden, and it has just been, the drainage has been awesome.
Leaf Guard has earned the Good Housekeeping seal 20 years in a row and offers 14 colors to choose from with Scratch Guard technology. Leaf Guard has been lab tested to handle up to 32 inches of rainfall an hour. Call in now to take advantage of our double savings sale. Double your savings from 10 to 20% off a complete Leaf Guard system. Double the financing to 18 months, 0 interest. Plus, double your free gift to a $100 gift card with estimate. The first 50 homeowners who call will receive a vacation voucher with Leaf Guard purchase, good for a condo, hotel stay, or a cruise. Call 800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
Here at Allegiance, we feel like American flags should be made in America.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags were actually being made overseas.
Every flag we make is proudly crafted in the USA with superior materials.
Join us in our mission to keep the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to order your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
I wish I wasn't afraid to smile.
I wish I could get implants.
I wish I knew who to trust.
I'm not looking for another quick fix.
I want a smile I know will last.
Clear Choice smiles are made to stand the test of time. They're built by dental implant experts, backed by 20 years of pioneering research and a lifetime warranty on premium arches. Our smiles are built for life. Schedule your free consultation today.
When curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. See their stories at Ancestry.
Well, that ceasefire we got going on right now sort of expires between, I think, like 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So once it runs out, President Trump says if there's no deal, lots of bombs will start going off, making it clear that the main thing he wants is just Iran not to have a nuclear weapon. It's pretty simple. The president also saying that it's highly unlikely he would extend a ceasefire if a deal isn't reached before tomorrow night, and said the Strait of Hormuz will remain blocked until an agreement is finalized. And all this is coming after the president said over the weekend that no more Mr. Nice Guy, and that the U.S. will take out every Iranian power plant and bridge if no deal is met. Fellow team guys, Chief Talent Officer of Mission Overwatch, critical Mike Sarraille, and the guy who smoked Osama bin Laden. And loving the shirt today, Rob. I saw that.
Vacation. It's vacation time on my sundial, Carl.
Yeah, all right. So, look, guys, Mike, we've got this. You had said early on, you made the prediction that, yes, it's probably going to result in bombs in the end, and we just had to shoot an Iranian tanker.
Well, first, I've got to, bring it to our attention. Who thought doing drugs would have landed Rob in the Oval Office? Good on you. Hey, all kidding aside.
It was psychedelics. It's like sort of drugs.
Not a drug, and all kidding aside, good on Rob, Marcus Capone, Alex West, all former teammates for fighting for the past decade for all of us veterans. That's huge. Congrats, Rob. So, the blockade is working. Seizing this last MV and then sending in the Marines through VBSS to take control. The blockade is working, but I think at 8 p.m. tomorrow, we are going to see President Trump, as he should, follow through on strikes on the power plants and the bridges. The only way is through. This isn't negotiations. This is now a disciplinary meeting, and full, verifiable compliance of what we were offering him needs to be the goal, and Trump will not accept a bad deal.
Yeah, no, 100%. Rob, let's talk about VBSS, Visit Board Search and Seizure, which is basically you get out, you board a ship, you take it over, you send some people up to the bridge, you send some people down to the engine bay, and you take over the ship. But yesterday, we gave him like 78 chances for this Iranian cargo ship to stop, and the blockade just got real because they were like, hey, we're going to shoot you in the back of the boat where the engine is, get everybody out of the engine bay, and then we did it, and now they're like, I can't believe they did that. It's like, well, we did say stop.
Yeah, we did, and they did this like any VBSS mission. You're going to contact the ship and say, hey, we're going to board you, and that's when they decide if they're going to be compliant or they're going to be non-compliant. And they decided they're going to be non-compliant, but I love this because this is like the second time during this administration that I'm completely jealous. First was of Delta Force getting Maduro. Now it's the gunner's mate third class on the USS Spruance that got to line up the 5-inch gun and blast it right into the engine room. And they don't call it a 5-inch gun because it's 5 inches long. He got to fire the gun at another ship. I'm jealous.
Yeah, that is a round like this big. I mean, like, it's huge. The other thing, too, is Democrats have been telling us that Iran was nowhere near obtaining nuclear weapons. That's their talking point now. But according to former Clinton White House nuclear advisor, Matthew Bunn, they were getting really close. Roll this.
970 pounds of 60% highly enriched uranium. What can you do with that?
So that is enough material for, if you enrich it just a little bit more, for 10 to 11 nuclear bombs.
It's like not a lot of refinement more to get to a bomb from there, Mike.
And you can only imagine that those bombs would have had cities on the warheads. London, Paris, Tel Aviv. Guys, it was a imminent threat to the world. And we cannot thank President Trump and this whole administration and what the Department of War has done to take out a imminent threat that has been, quite frankly, a belligerence for the past 47 years. So this needed to be done. We've got to finish it all the way to the end.
But this is the problem is, there was nothing tough on Iran. Like, you remember, Rob, when they put their U.S. soldiers, Iranian vessels boarded a U.S. ship and put U.S. Navy soldiers on their knees. It was the front page of every newspaper globally. And then you've got dolts like Chris Murphy, my senator from Connecticut, going over to Spain, a nation that did absolutely nothing, wouldn't even let us land some of our planes there, and slanders the president to another nation. Watch this.
I want to bring you greetings as well from a nation that is in crisis. I'm not going to sugarcoat the gravity of what we face right now in the United States. This is the most significant threat to American democracy since the Civil War. Donald Trump in our country is trying to end our democracy.
This is a guy who buys his boyfriend's flowers.
They need leadership in the Democrat Party. You can see it right now. The real leadership has dirt on all these people. Look at Eric Swalwell. I'm not going to get into how that all went down, but if guys like Murphy try to get too clever, as we all know, find out's only half a phrase. So this is going to happen for a long time. We don't need to worry about that Iranian army that we've been inflating for some reason for 47 years. This country's wasted $500 billion in investment. We've been told they're tough. Turns out they're not. They fought Iraq, who we crushed in a matter of hours, had to sue them for like borders. They weren't serious. We just inflated them. We kept releasing sanctions, giving them more and more revenue every single year. They'd hand it off to proxies. They never fought themselves, and when they did, they got their butts kicked. We're beating them with our Air Force. They're lucky we haven't sent the Marines in yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And Carl, I think the correct response is Chris Murphy who?
Yeah, exactly. The senator from Connecticut, which is like a postage stamp. It's my state. People in Texas have bigger backyards than my entire state. Mike, Rob, pleasure as always.
Gentlemen, as always, great.
All right.
Thanks.
Coming up, Ilhan Omar now claims that her millionaire status was just a mistake that cost her millions. What kind of Democrat math is this? Must be going to the Leering Center for that. Culture Clash next.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at shadyrays.com.
My friends, I come to you today on behalf of the Jewish people in Ukraine whose lives have been completely destroyed. Family and loved ones brutally killed. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is inside of Ukraine, providing emergency food and supplies to tens of thousands of people.
I am shocked how many elderly people came here. They're afraid, and they realize now that there are more people than boxes.
For just $25, you can help rush an emergency food box to the elderly Jews in Ukraine. Many of them are hungry, frightened, and alone. Today, there's a special opportunity to double your gift's impact. Call now, and your gift's impact will be doubled.
The people of Ukraine are caught in the crosshairs of war. Many of these precious people are Holocaust survivors, elderly Jews who are sick and dying. They have no food, and we must reach them now before it's too late.
The world is in a war again. I am alone. I'm afraid of the bombs. I'm scared. I am old. There is no food.
Just $25 helps rush emergency food to elderly Jews in Ukraine who are in urgent need today. Please call, scan, or go online right now.
I will not starve. Thank you, good people.
We can be the hope to the Jewish people who are suffering in Ukraine. Your help is desperately needed now.
Thanks to generous fellowship partners. Call now and your gift's impact will be doubled.
This is like my favorite person to hate. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar back under the microscope after disclosing that her and her husband's held assets between $6 and $30 million. I don't know how you have that wide of a span, but whatever. Remember, we did this whole deep dive into her finances and her so-called winery. Ilhan Omar's own financial disclosure form between $15,000 and $50,000. But on her financial affidavit from a year later, that same winery was listed at a value of between $1 and $5 million. Well, now she's claiming, after that financial affidavit, she's only worth $18,000 to $95,000 and is pointing the finger at her accounting discrepancy. Hey, okay, you still have to read this and sign it before, did you not read it? Okay, Newsmax contributor Chrissy Clark and Daily Caller reporter Ashley Brasfield. Chrissy, I try to generally read, call me crazy or autistic or whatever I am, but I try to read things before I sign them.
Oh, absolutely. And I also understand what a discrepancy is. A discrepancy is when you meant to say $18,000 and you maybe put an extra zero. And that's a huge difference, but you can understand how we got to that conclusion. An extra zero was typed, right? I don't understand how you got from 6 to 30 million all the way down to 18,000 to 95,000, which is what Ilhan Omar claims she's worth. Big discrepancy there. Not a real discrepancy. That's just comes across as fraudulent.
Yeah, I need to start bringing a orange flag with BS on it just to throw during these segments. Ashley, Zorhan Mamdani, he's basically like the fun police now. He's saying during the FIFA, look, I don't follow soccer at all, but during the World Cup and America 250, those celebrations, there's a new emergency park measure that was approved giving Parks Department latitude to deny applications for new large-scale events like concerts and festivals and fun things this summer from June 11th to June 19th. Now, these events garnered almost $5 million in city revenue last year that this city really needs right now because of all the free stuff that's happening. I mean, there's some sort of disconnect here.
Yeah, well, I think you could take that money that you would get from all those events that they would be able to have to put it back to the police. I think that's partially part of the issue here, probably from Zohar Mamdani, is not funding their police in New York City. You know, they only have a $1 billion budget, which on the face does seem like a lot, but for the New York City Police Department, I don't think that's, you know, overall a ton, especially with the crime rate happening in the city right now. So I think with FIFA being prioritized here, of course, you've seen President Trump, you know, promote a lot of these FIFA events. I think it is a bit huge event for New York City, but I mean, you're also looking at the 250th anniversary of our country, with New York City being one of the largest cities in the country here. So you're gonna have a lot of visitors, and you can expect, I guess, a lot of celebrations from New Yorkers and Americans that you should expect to be able to do in certain places like American parks.
Yeah, weird. Celebrating America in an American park. I don't know. That's a bridge too far. All right, speaking of this guy, he thinks there's better ways to spend our tax dollars than Operation Epic Fury, like bombing Iran. Obviously, he's probably inclined to side with them over us because he's a Muslim socialist, but invoking renowned philosopher and, you know, genius of his time, Tupac, same guy that was convicted of first-degree sexual abuse in '94, to criticize Donald Trump. Roll it.
We're being told that this money cannot be found to invest in working class Americans across this country. And I wish that the words of Tupac from the 90s weren't still prescient, but they continue to be true for too many, which is that we always have money for war and not to feed the poor.
I mean, Tupac?
It reminds me of when Hillary Clinton was talking about how she had fried chicken in her purse or something like that.
It was hot sauce. For fried chicken.
Hot sauce. Thank you. Yeah. It doesn't ring true to this idea that it's trying to be relatable, but has no idea how to be relatable. It's quite awkward. But also, you know, the United States, our federal budget is pretty much all social welfare. 60% of our budget goes towards welfare spending. So the idea that Zohar Mamdani is upset that the military gets some money, and I mean, let me just be frank, we don't have money to go to war, but we are at war, and it is pertinent that we do some of these things. So I am baffled at this idea that we don't spend enough money in social welfare programs when it's 60% of our budget.
Let's take all the Pentagon budget, let's put it into the soup kitchens in Manhattan, and then when they get hit by a nuclear weapon from Iran, we can say, I told you so. I don't know. Maybe that's a bridge too far. Remember all the outrage, though, Ashley, from the mainstream media when Ilhan supposedly threw up a Nazi salute, okay, which was like, my heart goes out to you. It was pretty clear, and we played like 50 other Democrat politicians that all did the same thing. Well, they're silent now over this Maine Democrat Senate candidate with a dude with an actual Nazi tattoo for doing the same thing. Roll it.
My husband, Graham Plattner.
That was like a hybrid of the Nazi salute into the Black Power thing. I mean, he's just covering all the bases there, Ashley.
Yeah, he's trying to in all ways. I mean, that Nazi tattoo was awfully telling earlier in the campaign that we've seen. Is a lot, well, the Reddit post, you know, the training socialists to fire guns in a lot of ways. But I mean, Graham Plattner, I mean, the Daily Caller was one of the first to be on this candidate that's running against Susan Collins, as well as Janet Mills. Bernie Sanders endorsed candidate here. I think you know what to expect, but you think the media training would have paid off by this point to know, don't lift the arm, Graham, don't do it, because you know what's going to happen. It's going to be thrown right back in your face. And, you know, same goes with what the left did and the left-wing media did for Elon.
Yeah, there's like a no-go zone between parallel and like 30 degrees if you're running for office, especially if you have a Nazi tattoo. So, I don't know. Crazy. Ashley, Chrissy, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, FBI Director Kash Patel says arrests are finally coming, maybe, for the Russia probe. Could the moment we've all been waiting for finally be here, or is just another tease? We're going to see in a sec.
Have you ever thought of getting a walk-in tub for you or someone you love? Now is a great time to take a look at getting a Safe Step walk-in tub.
With Safe Step's standard heated seat and new fast fill faucet, you can enjoy a nice warm bath up to 20% faster. And the convenient touchpad control is right at your fingertips.
Each tub comes standard with a dual hydrotherapy system. The 10 water jets can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and improve sleep, while the MicroSoothe advanced air therapy system oxygenates and softens skin.
Safe Step walk-in tubs are built to maximize safety so you can stay in your home and enjoy the comforts of bathing again.
So call now for more information and a free, no-obligation consultation.
When you call today, you'll also receive our limited time offer. Don't wait to enjoy safer bathing. Call 1-800-296-0431.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there. Wrap it up. Come on, Dad. It's taking forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
Please let this be real and not some other eye roll that I'm going to be disappointed about. FBI Director Kash Patel dropping the bomb just randomly that we've been waiting to hear for years, that arrests are coming for the 2016 Russia probe that was complete garbage after nearly a decade of the biggest political hoax and lie in American history. The fake collusion narrative and the Steele dossier lies and whatever else never ended up being real, and the $40 million we spent investigating it. Someone might face justice? I mean, could justice actually be coming, or is it just another deep state, Riz that's going to try to get our hopes up and then nothing happens? Newsmax legal analyst Jay Town and former federal prosecutor Doug Burns. Jay, if this is real, I will like dance on my hands.
Well, don't, Carl. But here's what I would suggest as to why it is real. Kash Patel had a ringside seat for what happened to Pam Bondi when Pam said, when she was the Attorney General, that the client list was on my desk, the Epstein files are on my desk, and it's all going to be released soon. And then a year later, they were forced by law to have to release it through a website. Didn't play well in the media, didn't play well on the right or the left. Kash Patel knows that. So when he promises that Crossfire Hurricane and the Steele dossier and the Clinton campaign and the Mueller investigation and what happened to General Flynn, that there's going to be accountability for that, I believe him.
So it looks like I might have to do a handstand. Okay. Doug, Joe DeGeneva, who's obviously a friend of this network, he's now been tapped to lead the DOJ probe into this Russian origin thing. Like, look, we've had 10 years. All the info's there. This should wrap up in like 13 hours.
You would hope so. But look, he's going to do a good job. He'll look at the facts. He'll look at the law. He believes sternly that a lot of improprieties took place. I don't disagree with that assessment. And the fact of the matter is, it's interesting. I mean, working off, what you led in with tonight, I'll make Jay's point, but slightly differently, which is I just don't see, and I hope I'm right, making that promise at this point without delivering some goods.
Yeah.
And in terms of Joe DeGeneva, same exact thing.
Yeah, well, you guys will know because I'll be standing on my hands if he does it. All right, Kash Patel also, Jay, suing The Atlantic now for $250 million over a published piece alleging that he's alarmed colleagues with excessive drinking and erratic behavior and frequent absences. Now, look, I know Kash. I don't know him to do those things, but also The Atlantic now standing behind this reporting. They've gotten stuff wrong before, too. But also, apparently The Atlantic didn't reach out to anybody in Kash's circle to verify any of this anonymous stuff.
Yeah, and as soon as Kash Patel learned of this reporting, they made sure to let The Atlantic know that it was incorrect, and in so many ways. And then in a detailed letter from Kash's lawyers, detailed all of the ways in which it was incorrect and defamatory. And they're standing by the reporting. And this is the problem with all these anonymous sources, these unsourced stories that are meant to inflame and ruin people's careers. It's ironic that it came out right before Kash Patel is announcing that there's going to be arrests in the Russia collusion hoax.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was at a very closed-door wedding with him, I don't know, 2 months ago, and he didn't have a single thing to drink. And it was like a very safe environment to have a beer. Didn't see him drink a single thing. So I don't know if I believe this report. Committee on Ethics, Doug, has released a statement regarding sexual misconduct, including a list of all its publicly... I mean, this is stuff we already knew about. So they disclose a bunch of stuff we already knew about, dating back to 1976. And I want to know from James Comer, who is on this list? He came on this show and said, we're going to expose the people who use tax dollars to pay off potential victims. Roll this.
We got together on the Oversight Committee and we wanted to know who these people were. If it's tax dollars, then every American has a right to know. So I subpoenaed for those records and we expect to get them in next week. So hopefully by this time next week, every American will know who the members of Congress were that used tax dollars to pay out on sexual harassment claims.
So this time next week is now. Do you think we're going to get any of those other things that from closed door, like who the other guy was in the Senate briefing room gay sex video?
Carl, I've always called this the Washington, D.C. put up a stop sign after the accident situation. I read the statement that they put out. It's like classic, cover your you-know-what language, and we take it so seriously and this and that. So, again, I'm open-minded. Let's hope they move in the right direction. But this has been a systemic problem for so long. That I do have to just diplomatically call out the notion that they're stepping forward now, claiming to be addressing this in such a serious fashion.
And I want to know where the hell my $17 million of tax money went to. Doug, Jay, pleasure as always.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
All right, we have some good news, folks. Last week, we brought to your attention about our carriage on Optimum. It's a major cable provider. Well, we are pleased to announce that Optimum has agreed with us to renew Newsmax so you can continue to watch Newsmax without interruption. Look, we are eternally grateful for you guys making the calls. I know hundreds of you flooded their phone lines to the fact that they had like 60-minute hold times. We appreciate you guys having our back. We'll always have your back. I'll never, ever lie to you for that. Appreciate it very much. Join our news revolution. Continue to tune into Newsmax. Remember, you can watch Newsmax anytime, anywhere. Newsmax Plus on our app, or just go to newsmaxplus.com. Start a free trial. It doesn't cost anything. Start today. All right, before we go, robots running. Cardio's for people who can't kill what's chasing them. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
We're proud to create jobs right here in South Carolina. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the right way.
We make American flags the way they should be made, where they should be made.
Join our pledge to keep the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouths.
From senior to childcare to pets and more, the new care.com makes it easier than ever to find the care you need. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at care.com.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
What have I been telling you? One day we're going to be competing and fighting against robots, not in the distant future, by the way. This latest example is out of China, where last year robots ran a half marathon in Beijing, and the top one finished in 2 hours and 40 minutes, okay? Fast forward to this year, 1 year of advancements, and the robot performance improved leaps and bounds, finishing the race in just 50 minutes and 25 seconds. That's like cut a third of its time off and blew out the human record of 57 minutes. One spectator saying this may signal the arrival of a new sort of era. He's right, the era to prove to these robots that we are in control. So, like, Rob, seriously, this is why I stock up on green tip tungsten penetrator ammo, and I train, okay? Shoot the joints.
I don't get what took the robot so long. It's a robot. It should win. It should do it in 3 minutes, right? I mean, it's a robot. Just make it run as fast as it possibly can.
Maybe next year at this rate.
100 miles an hour.
Yes,
Just go.
All of them. This is not
a
thing.
I'm not very impressed that a robot barely beat a human being in a marathon. Should I be? I don't know.
All right, I'm still getting
I got to leave. I know you hate the robots.
Hate them.
Kind of there with you.
Fight them.
Carl, don't fight any robots.
Later.